Welcome to Running Down the Clock, where we break down all of this week's big news, events, and controversies from the National Football League. Over the next 45 minutes, we will give you basic fan perspective and opinion on the most important stories and moments happening now. So, let's start the clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Down the Clock. I am Tyler Walzak. I am here with Poya Racey. Poya, how are you today?
Good. Great week.
A great week of games, especially if you're a Lions fan. We're going to start with the Lions because they're in first place.
Was that pause to figure out if I'm talking about next week or this past week? There's a processing pause there.
A processing pause only because you broke up during like your Audible broke up. So I was like, oh, I wonder, did it freeze? Nope, we're still good. We're still in business. But that's why there was that pause there.
That's not good. My audio breaking up is not good for an audio-based show.
No, but I'm hoping that it's only on like the interference between how we do this, and so that it'll still be good on your end and my end, and then once it gets spliced together, it's going to work out perfectly.
Yeah, I can almost certainly tell you that it won't be. It just will be dead air for that pause. But anyway, let's move on.
We're starting with the Lions. 5-1 Lions. First place, technically first place, tied for first place.
Tied for first place in the league.
Did you see any of that game?
I didn't see the game. I watched the highlights, though.
Block of the year.
The block of the year. Which play was that?
Yes. Touchdown.
Yes, I know the play. Yeah,
with their third string running back.
Yeah,
Craig Reynolds, who it was a big focal point on Hard Knocks last year. They were debating the last guy to cut, and they brought his name up, and everybody defended him. Said like, if you cut him, I think the players are going to come knocking on your door. I think they like this guy that much, and I think it's plays like this where that's why this team loves him, because not only did he make the great play that shoved one blocker into two others, allowed St. Brown to not only get the first down, but score a touchdown 14 yards later. After the play, St. Brown was like jumping all over him, like on the bench, like continuously celebrating with him. It was nice to see.
Yeah, those are the intangible guys, right? They don't show up on the stat sheet, but somehow they help you win the game.
Yeah, those are the guys you want on your team.
Love them. So here's a question for you. Lions are tied in first place in the league.
Yep.
What this league is currently showing us right now is that pretty much anybody could be beat on any given Sunday. Now, of the teams that are kind of Super Bowl threats right now, who scares you as the Lions fan?
The 49ers. I think the thing about the 49ers from this point on for the rest of the years, they just have to stay healthy. I think that's all that the 49ers.
That's a huge ask.
I know, especially because both Deebo Samuel and Chris McCaffrey went down with injury and left the game against the Browns this week.
Yeah, do we have much to report on that? They're back next week, likely?
It seems like Deebo's injury is more serious than Christian McCaffrey's, but there's been nothing else reported. I know they wanted to get CMC into an MRI machine today, but I haven't seen any reports of how that's happened. And obviously, by the time this airs, we'll have more information. But I haven't heard anything since then.
Am I mistaken, or did Trent Williams also get hurt?
Trent Williams did, but he apparently is the day-to-day, so he's the one that's actually doing the best ever since. But it'll be interesting with CMC out. That's a huge loss for them. Like they traded last year for him specifically to go to the Super Bowl.
He's a minimum touchdown a game.
The best running back in the game right now.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think the 49ers are the best team in the league right now when healthy. Now, I got an odd one for you. Who would you say right now at this point in the season is the league MVP? I was thinking about that one. I think it's a very tough to call. Nobody's really stood out too crazy to me so far.
I mean, the one guy that comes up a lot in my social feeds and who I think probably is the number one contender right now for MVP, that would be Tua.
Right.
Like he's finally staying healthy, knock on wood. I don't want him to get hurt because this team is way more exciting to watch when they have a great quarterback. But I mean, how do you not?
No, you're right. In most quarterback categories, he's first.
Yeah. And then I would say second, not to like toot our own horn here, but Jared Goff.
Yeah, his stats are up there.
Then they have their offense is the best probably in the league other than the Dolphins.
Yeah. No, I'll give it to you.
And Hurts isn't playing. They're just shoving him into the end zone. He's not really doing anything. They're just shoving him. They're pushing him into the end zone.
Oh, yeah. He does not let his teammates feast in the red zone.
I thought no, but you do not want to have a red zone threat on your fantasy team if on the Eagles because it's just going to be Jalen Hurts. So I thought they were going to have to like ban the tush push or whatever you want to call it, the brotherly shove, like that play that they run where it's automatic 2 yards. Chargers tried to do it Monday night. Cowboys tried to do it Monday night. Like the Lions, I think, tried to do it on Sunday. Like everyone's trying to do it and nobody can get it done.
Yeah, I think Kelsey on his podcast was talking about he thinks it's going to continue until you see a major injury. Somebody gets a serious injury from it, then they'll
Right.
start to look at maybe getting rid of it. That's what his take was.
Oh,
I
really?
could I
That's
could see the merit in that.
100%. I can
If
see that.
nobody's getting hurt, why would you try and stop something, right? It's not unfair.
No, you're not
It's a
wrong.
fair play.
The only thing would be if everyone
I'm
started
never
doing
wrong when
it.
I'm stealing other people's point of view.
Yeah. The only other reason I'd say the NFL would jump in is if everyone started doing it to the point where it was just negatively affecting viewership. They're like, this is super boring. Nobody wants to see this. Yeah. So let's talk about Brock Purdy because
That's his first regular season loss.
his first loss when healthy.
Can he blame it on the kicker?
100%.
We can judge him on his response game next week. He's got Minnesota, which is a very winnable game for the 49ers, even with maybe an injury to Samuel or something.
Yeah. I mean, even if 49ers don't have one of those two, Samuel or CMC, that's even if both are out, I think the 49ers should win this game over the Vikings.
They can still win. Yeah, they don't have Justin Jefferson.
I mean, yeah, the Vikings have nobody. It's
Yeah.
in Minnesota, sure, but we're talking about the 49ers. Just about their Super Bowl favorites right now. And the Vikings are what? 1, 2, and 4.
Do we give any love to Mr. PJ Walker, Mr. XFL?
I think we gave a lot of love to PJ Walker. I mean, what did PJ Walker do this week that was worse than anything that Deshaun Watson's ever done?
Yeah, he has not shined yet.
Like he looks exactly like what we thought he would look like in a guy who hasn't played football in 2 years. And I guess Nick Chubb's a big loss for that whole division because that would be such an exciting division. Still is, but like it's still tough to like. Do you believe in the Browns? Do you think the Browns can actually win this division?
I think they can win the division. Yes, that division is up for grabs. Every street and inconsistent. But here's Walker's stats. He was 18 of 34, 192 yards, 0 TDs, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean
Nothing.
it's not a great stat line. But hey, they won the game.
Sorry?
They won the game. He
They
put them
did.
in a spot to win the game at the end. But I mean, so the Ravens are 4-2, the Steelers are 3-2, the Browns are 3-2, Bengals are 3-3. But if the Browns had Nick Chubb, I mean, they might be 4-2 and sitting at the top with the Ravens there. This division's good.
Sure. Now, just for a comparison, comparing the other undefeated team that lost this weekend, Zach Wilson's QB stats: 19 of 33, 186 yards for 0 TDs and 0 interceptions. Is that better?
It's better. It's the same. I mean, having
He
zero
really like
interceptions.
watching that game. He didn't do anything.
No, no, and that's what he needs to do though. Stay doing that. Let everybody else do
But
things.
doesn't that just say how good that Jets team could be if they had a QB doing something?
I think they would
Like,
be
isn't that
5-1.
indicative of like this is a good team that they can actually win that game against the Eagles? But they've hung around in a lot of other games too, despite the fact that their QB really doesn't do a lot.
He doesn't really do anything. The only thing he has to do is not lose the game. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Is all he has to do is not lose the game, and he will be fine.
Like that's so demoralizing to like look at your QB like that.
I don't, but like, what else are you supposed to do?
I mean, play better like this. I don't know. It's easier said than done. I get it, but at the end of the day, this is your craft. This is what you do.
I do. By him not losing though, he's putting them in a position to just get Aaron Rodgers back.
No,
If
I
he's
know
going to earn his ring, if
I
they
get
win
it.
a Super Bowl, he'll earn his ring.
I'm um considering his skill level in the situation, I think he's actually improving. It seems like he's, from what I can see, he's getting along better with his teammates. He takes accountability. He's kind of trying to be more of a leader than just blaming everybody else and being the diva. So yeah, I think he's growing, he's developing, but the stats aren't showing it yet.
No, but I mean, the telling stat that if you're a Jets fan, when you're looking at it, is he's had 0 turnovers last game.
Yeah.
That's all you want from him. Like that is already better than the position that PJ Walker's putting his team in. As long as you're not turning the ball over, then you're fine. Like I mean, you don't want to be doing 3 and outs every time, but also you have to rely on Breece Hall. You got to throw it up to Garrett Wilson every single time, really. Just don't take that stupid throw or do something dumb that the fans will. Don't give the fans a reason to boo you. Give them a reason to boo the offense, maybe, but don't give them a reason to boo you specifically. That's all. That's his entire life goal for the rest of the year.
Don't get booed. It sounds like a bad comedian. You know, he's always going on stage, and his whole goal is just doesn't need to laugh. He just needs to not get booed off stage. That's it.
Yeah, he's just got to make the whatever. If he gets 10 minutes on stage, just make it without anyone booing you. That is,
that's it.
Yeah, he's just got to be a cheap comedian, a clown. He just needs to be a clown.
Day to day.
Okay, the end of the Sunday night game. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I saw it. Yes, you could call that. No, you could let it go. But I agree with you that there's certain teams that, and I don't have the stats on this to back it up as usual. It seems that they get the favorable calls. They'll get it called for them, such as the Chiefs or something, whereas another team won't get it called for them, right? Like the more marketable teams will get that call to help them because that call gets missed and it gets called throughout the game plenty of times.
Sure, but the problem is they called it the play before.
Oh, I agree. It is a problem with inconsistency. How can the players judge what to do when it could get called either way on every play?
The best take I heard, again, it's better for us to talk other people's takes because then we're never wrong. The best take I heard was, so they called pass interference on the last play of the game, essentially, no time left. So that means you get to play one more down. And you also know that they just called pass interference on a game that was ended. So the likelihood of them calling it again is very slim. And we saw that in that game. I think that's the only reason they didn't call it, because like, fuck, we just called this. Can we call it again? Like, are we going to get absolutely shit canned if people say like, oh, they're trying to keep calling PI at the end of the game? This doesn't make any sense. So as a defensive player, you kind of be like, I'm going to hold this guy because what are the odds they're going to call defensive pass interference twice to win a game?
I get that, but is that not a flaw in the
it's a huge flaw
in the reffing?
It's a massive flaw. But I mean, as a defensive player, it's smart to think that.
100%. As a defensive player, do it every time. You just get, you get called for and they get another shot at it, or you don't get called and you win the game.
Yeah. You get beat. Worst case scenario, you get beat and they win the game instead of you just holding them and saving yourself for another play. But I mean, the Giants should have won that game. Tyrod Taylor, Tyrod Taylor was not XFL. You got a big thing that you want to talk about with the XFL here.
No, I didn't. It's just PJ Walker got his win. He was Mr. XFL. But I don't think it has anything to do with Tyrod Taylor.
Well, you put on our little thing.
I didn't put that. You put that.
You put PJ Walker versus Mr. MILF Zach Wilson.
I put Mr. XFL PJ Walker versus Mr. X MILF trying to play off the XFL with the XMILF.
That's why you're
Zach Wilson, because both of those guys who put subpar performances managed to knock off the 2 remaining undefeated teams. Had nothing to do with Tyrod Taylor. I don't know why you inserted his name in there.
Because PJ Walker didn't play, Zach.
This is terrible radio. This is
great.
Radio.
People want to hear about what happens behind the scenes. You put a PJ Walker versus Zach Wilson. I know, but they didn't play each other. What am I supposed to think? Is this a question about, do I want to see them in a wrestling match together against each other?
No. Right above it says the Great QB Debate.
Mr. XFL. See what you did? You didn't put a space between the line above that and then this. If you had just put a space between these two, then I'd know what the hell you're talking about. Right. Between every team loses. Great.
Why did Tyrod Taylor in there, though?
Because Tyrod Taylor played Zach Wilson. Oh, fuck, he didn't.
He didn't.
Yeah, that
was the whole thing of why I don't know why you put Tyrod Taylor in there to begin with. That made no sense whatsoever.
I put it in there because they're both in New York. They're both playing for New York.
Right. So maybe they'll see each other on the subway or something. This is terrible radio.
No one's listening anyways. So we can talk about what the fuck we want.
No, I'll tell you, here's the bit on Tyrod Taylor that you could actually say is he might be one of the most unfortunate players in recent memory. Just all the bad luck things that have kept him out of the lineup. And then when he comes in, he's about to have a good game, lead his team to a win with the starting QB injured. Controversial play at the end, he doesn't get the win.
Yeah.
No
And of
fault of
course,
his.
of course, you're talking about the punctured lung.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That was
that
for
is
when he was with Cleveland.
well, no, the punctured lung was San Diego.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Chargers. Yeah.
Yeah, before the Justin Herbert era.
Yeah.
Was he ever hurt like playing? Was he ever a guy that would get hurt consistently while playing?
I feel like he wasn't. I feel like he lost. I feel like he lost his job to the. Why did he lose his job to Baker Mayfield? Because he's a Heisman Trophy first,
Yeah, maybe he was there
first
before,
overall
and
pick.
then Baker came in.
No.
I feel like he was one of those guys that started again. People can write us in and tell us what the fuck happened with Tyrod Taylor, but I feel like he was the starting quarterback at the end of the season for a Browns team that was really bad. Played well, but then they drafted Baker Mayfield, and that's how he lost his job. But he played
Yeah, I
so
think
well in
so.
those last
Something
four
like that.
games that he was able to go somewhere else and kind of get that. Same as like Teddy Bridgewater. Like Teddy Bridgewater was a high draft
He had
pick,
some
went to
injuries, though, no?
Minnesota. He got injured, yeah, but then he went to be a bench player and then had like 4 games as a starter, or 8 games as a starter in New Orleans, and then kind of won a chance to be a starting quarterback. But that's essentially Tyrod Taylor's story too. But then the trainer puts a needle in his lung and essentially ends his starting quarterback career.
If I
Zach
were to tell
Wilson
you
stuff.
that Tyrod Taylor is a Super Bowl champ, what would you say?
I would say, who was he a Super Bowl champ with?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, really? So Flacco got hurt. Tyrod Taylor came in, probably like 4 games left in the season.
No, he never played. He was the backup to.
What?
He was the backup to what's his name?
Flacco.
Joey Flacco. Yeah.
And then he just went to Cleveland to be a backup?
No, he was the starter in Cleveland.
I know, but how would you go from being a backup behind Joe Flacco, not playing at all, to just all of a sudden feeling like the Cleveland Browns want you to be their starter?
I think they rested him. I'm just looking on Wikipedia here quickly, and this
I
is
see
so
that.
boring. This is so boring to talk to. How do we get into Tyrod Taylor's life history here? Yeah, he rested for week 17 against, and Tyrod came in.
And then that's all he needed to go to the Cleveland Browns.
They lost the game, but they won a championship. But then he went to the Bills.
Yeah, I actually remember Tyrod Taylor on the Bills. He was good there. He's been around everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you think that he deserves another starting shot over Daniel Jones, even if Daniel Jones is healthy? Some
It's a
people,
tough one just for the fact that you're paying Daniel Jones so much that you kind of want to see what he's got. Like, is he much worse?
yeah, I think the ceilings are different. So the floor is the same for Tyrod Taylor's bad is equal to Daniel Jones's bad. I think Daniel Jones's ceiling, like his best game, is way better than what Tyrod Taylor's best game could be.
Right.
I think that's probably the way that anyone would have to look at that. But I don't want to talk about Tyrod Taylor anymore.
I don't want to talk about Daniel Jones either. Let's go to
Let's
another team here. Let's
talk about your team, Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
DK Metcalf, you got a little bit of a temper problem. What is going on with him? He takes the most dumb penalties out of any player in the NFL.
He does. Because they're bad penalties and they cost a team. They're of no value. It's not like in hockey you can get into a fight, but it'll kind of energize your line. It'll kind of put a little bit of fear in the other team. It kind of keeps them honest. His penalties don't do anything to help, right?
Right.
They're not like smart penalties off the a corner side who prevented a touchdown. He's just taking a bad penalty.
He's just taking penalties where someone says something to him after a play and he shoves them or hits them. This is like the 5th time he's done this in like 8 games.
Yeah, and it's obvious that they're getting into his head.
Yeah, because he did it last year in the playoffs too, did he not? He took a stupid one when he felt like he got shoved out of bounds on like a long pass, and he turned around and hit the guy.
It's just it's a maturity thing, right? Like he's not gaining anything from it.
How old is he? He should, and he's a veteran. Like he's a veteran player now.
Yeah, he's old enough.
That's what I mean. He's been in the league for at least three years, right? How can he still be taking these? And then how does the team not say like, hey man, like this, the leaders on the team even like Tyler Lockett should come over and be like, you got to stop doing this. You're killing us right now. Because they have a good team, do they not? Do you believe in the
maybe they're afraid of him? Punch them in the head or something.
He's also huge and he's ripped. But do you believe in the Seattle Seahawks? Do you think they're a good team? 3-2?
I think they are what they are. I don't think that they're not built to go deep. they can surprise teams and win a few games. Like, they're not a team to overlook in week-to-week games. They can win.
Do you think they made the playoffs?
I think they do make the playoffs.
Really? Still? That was kind of a weak performance against the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are a favorite to begin the season, but Seahawks are like they don't look great. They're not essentially playing good football on offense, taking dumb penalties. Their defense is decent.
Yeah. How'd they make the playoffs last year, though?
They kind of
squeaked in.
Yeah,
Same thing. I expect the same thing out of them.
Yeah. So just getting in the last wild card spot.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad teams, though, right?
There's a few bad teams. The Cardinals are bad still.
You know what, though, actually? The only thing that is different than last year is the Rams could give them a little bit of a run for their money this year.
Well, that's the problematic part.
Yeah.
Last year they got in because the Rams were bad. So the division games are a little bit easier for them. But this year the Rams are decent. Then they got Cooper Kupp back, who's just unstoppable, I guess. Cooper Kupp comes back from whatever injury, and he's just right back like 11, 12 catches a game.
Hey, he's a good player.
He's a great player. I hate his beard. His beard needs to be sharpened up. I'd like to see it trimmed up and shaped.
You used to have the same beard.
Yeah, well.
And I used to tell you look terrible.
You used to have really long hair.
I did.
And we both look better without this stuff.
I'd trim it. I'd tie it back, though. I'd get rid of it. I'd put a hat on.
Tying it back doesn't help. Tying it back doesn't help.
I'd put a hat on.
But it would still poke out the back.
Yeah. Speaking of guys and tempers, Josh Allen getting into a fight to back up his teammates. You'd support it or don't support it?
Fully support it, but also at the same time, like, if you get hurt doing it, then it's a different conversation. Fully support going in there. The way he did it, I don't know if that was like he ran in and jumped and tried to push like their biggest guy over. All for it, but you get hurt, your team's pissed at you because they're essentially always going to protect you. And I'm not sure what that skirmish was about, but if it was about protecting Josh Allen, he needs to do exactly what Herbert did. Get up, walk away with your head held high, knowing that everyone has your back because you're the most important player. Josh Allen being hurt is not good for the Buffalo Bills.
Outside of like Bill Romanowski breaking his teammate's orbital bone by punching him in the face, how often do football players get injured in fights, though?
No, but it would just be it would just be one of those freak things where like you step on some guy's ankle or like that's all it would be. I don't think anyone would get super injured, but if you do some high ankle sprain coming down on somebody,
I feel like it's such a low probability thing. Like, these aren't like real street brawls, and there are a few shoves, a couple shots to the helmets, right? Like, nobody's really
agreed. But at the same time,
I'm all for it. I think the respect and the team bonding and just having each other's back and the team chemistry outweighs that of maybe rolling your ankle on a soda can or something that's thrown on the field during the fight.
Now the fans are fighting. Part of the fight, fans. It must be in Cleveland. It's good. That's a good reference because they threw all those beer bottles in the.
Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
A good reference. That's a good reference.
Yeah.
We get them every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't make the show any more interesting, but we still get them in there. For us. The show's for us.
We spent 20 minutes on Tyrod Taylor. Just remember that.
No one else, and no one else who has an NFL podcast or a sports podcast or a television show has talked about Tyrod Taylor today. Yeah. Just us. You mentioned guys throwing around their heads. Anthony Richardson from the Colts looks like he probably won't play another game.
Done for the season, right?
How does that affect the rest of his career? Like I think of him as a guy like RG3, Vince Young, and those, just off the top of my head, those are two guys that came in, had all the hopes in the world to be like a great pocket passer, but at the same time had the ability to be mobile, to use their feet, to have that extra advantage against an offense.
So he's opting for a season-ending surgery. Is that correct?
I don't know if he's opting it or he's talking about. He hasn't made a choice yet, but I think everyone's trying to talk him into it.
Yeah. So I think with injuries, it's one of those things where I've done it myself. I remember when I was in grade 8, skateboarding, broke my arm, and I hated being sidelined like that. Within a week, I was just doing stupid stuff again, right? Like rushing it back. And that's the thing with injuries, right? If you rush it back, you're probably going to make it worse. If you properly, let's be like for peak pro athlete, it's different than me, like a 13-year-old kid. If you proper rehab it, get it healed up, do your best to strengthen it, to condition all the things you need, you got a better chance of coming back strong. But when you try and push it, you take that chance of like, it might not be ready yet, but it might be. I'm going to try and push it. You could just make it worse. And then it becomes a lingering, lifelong injury that you'll never heal.
I
So
agree.
he's young enough that he can kind of play it smart and still salvage his career.
Does he have to change the way he plays the game? Because it's like the fourth game he's been injured. Concussion.
That's
I mean,
always a difficult one because when you talk about changing the way you play the game, sometimes it's not as easy because the way you play the game is what got you to the pros.
right.
Sometimes if you change your game, that's it. You don't have the other game that you would have changed to wouldn't have got you to the pros.
Yeah. And the
So
reason
sometimes, and again, he'll know that better than anybody else, but
they drafted him was because he had that extra
yeah,
ability to run the ball.
yeah.
He just has to know when to slide. He's got to know when to slide and
Well,
when to just throw the
look at
ball away.
Tua. Tua was like diving head first into things, like getting tossed on his dome every single time.
Yeah.
He made some adjustments and like he's doing better now, right? Like those are the kind of adjustments you can learn.
Exactly. Now, there's a different scenario with Aaron Rodgers, who's going to push it to try to get back faster this year. That being said, he also only has like 2 years left in his
Well,
career.
exactly.
So
I think for him, it's just get back on the
doesn't,
field and play because his days are numbered anyway, just from age, right? Like
yeah.
he's
So if he
even if
goes,
he like pulls a Tom Brady, how many years can he possibly play for?
I think Tom Brady retired at 45. I think Aaron Rodgers is 42.
Yeah.
Is that right? So he's got 3 years left. But I think he's only going to do this year and next year. But if he comes back early and gets hurt, then he just goes, shit, I pushed it, but I wanted to be here to win a Super Bowl. I wasn't here to just sit and wait for next year to win a Super Bowl when he knows
Exactly.
he'll be another year older. So he may as well push it. If the Jets can stay the
He's
way the
also
Jets
got
are,
less to lose because he's already got a Hall of Fame career behind
well,
him.
that's exactly it. He's got
You know
money.
what I
He's
mean?
got a career. He gets paid $1 million to go on Pat McAfee's show every week or whatever. So he's set. He's good. He's good. But I don't know. Like Anthony Richardson just he's got to find a way to not get hurt. Like keep doing what you're doing, but not get hurt. I know that's easy to say from a seat in Vancouver, but okay. So I'm going to steal your conspiracy of the week this week.
Do it. Let's see what you got. I'll rate you.
Did you watch the Chargers
Dallas
Cowboys
game?
game last night?
Yep.
Saw the end?
Yes.
Did you see the female Chargers fan, the Asian lady?
Yeah.
I
Like it
believe that
looked like that was like the tight end dude's wife or something. Like, like the way like they camera kept panning to her, like when
I think she was an
making
actor.
plays.
I think she was an actor. I don't
Okay.
think that she was a real fan. You know how when you go to these games, um, nowadays, like the kiss cam and all that stuff, it's all fake, it's all scripted. Like you have the guy who like goes to get his like Pepsi or his beer or something, and then the girl kisses the guy that's on her
Right.
other side, and then he comes back with the beer and he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
I think that this was one of those things. The camera was right in her face, and she didn't look at it once. She was on there for 10 minutes at the end of the game. No one would have like texted her and said, "Hey, you're on the game," like just so you know. And her reactions were crazy up and down. I don't think that. I think it
Oh, it
benefits.
looked like it looked like they were going to kill her children if this game didn't go her way. Like, looked like she was in deep with some real bad.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's like she had her entire life on this game. But that's what I mean is the camera being right there, and I know they have lenses and all that shit, but it seemed like it was like a wider lens right in her face. Like if it was just underneath of her. If anyone's been to a game, you can see the person in the aisle pointing a camera at you. Um, and like I think they just wanted the more Chargers fans to get on board with the Chargers because the
Right.
Rams own that city.
Now, could there be another thing? They did it for baseball games before. They had these creepy fans placed for a horror movie where they just were like having this very creepy smile the entire game, and like the camera would pan to them every now and then. This year they did those robots, and they did it at the
Yeah,
Chargers games, right? The robot
the
fans.
LA Rams game, I think it was.
Was it the Rams?
Might have been the Chargers actually. You're
I
not
know it
wrong.
was that stadium, whatever. It was
Same
the same
stadium,
stadium.
SoFi. Yeah,
But yeah, like what if this was another one of those kind of
It could be. I
viral
mean,
marketing.
I forgot about that viral marketing thing for the AI movie, but 1000%. Like, if any stadium's going to do this, it's going to be in LA.
Yeah.
I think she was like planted there. I think that she was not a real, I don't want to say person, but I think she was just an actress or an actor or somebody that was told to act this way
Okay.
for the
Now, can
Chargers.
you link this conspiracy to the Taylor Swift conspiracies or anything, or no?
No, but I will say that that fan was on the Pat McAfee show today, and even there, I was like, "This is fake. She's acting right now. She doesn't know the names of the players. She doesn't know the names of the coaches. She just kept saying our coach, our quarterback.
How did Pat McAfee get her on the show?
Geez, that guy's like the biggest name in sports broadcasting right now. You can
But
find
I
anybody.
tracked down a fan the next day.
She's an actress. She's not a fan. That's how
Right.
they got her. She's an
Right.
actress, not a fan.
Yeah.
But I
He,
mean,
he called her
that's
agent.
that's the conspiracy of the week. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get into this week's upcoming games.
Hey, podcast listeners. My name is Larice Campbell, and along with my co-host, former Olympic bobsledder, Alicia Olson, I am so excited to introduce you to the Mother Pucker podcast. Our brand new show launches this Wednesday, October 18th, and if you love the Oilers like we do, you are going to love our show. It's just two gals who aren't afraid to drop the gloves and throw some hot takes about the boys in blue and orange. Whether you're a massive hockey fan like us or just looking for some new voices talking about the Oilers' blue line, or lack thereof, we promise the show is for you. So subscribe now and tell your friends. It's time for the Mother Pucker podcast.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to get into this week's games. Do you want to do the game of the week first, or do you want to get into some picks here first?
Oof.
We got some good
I like
games
the game
this
of the week.
weekend.
I like to throw the game of the week out there.
Okay.
Game of the week that I think should be a good one. Miami, Philly.
You
Both
think should be a good
5-1
one?
records.
You think this should be a good game?
I'm saying this should be a good game in terms of like exciting.
1000%. This should be the game of the
no,
year.
hear me out. Hear me out.
All right.
What if Miami runs away with it?
It's in Philly. Philly's got one of the better defenses. What makes you think Miami's gonna run away with this?
If a team runs away with it, I think Miami runs away with it rather than Philly runs away with it.
Sure, I think it's a tight game right to the end. Also, like, keep in mind that where the Dolphins' offense is in terms of like one of the better ones in the league, that's where Philly's defense is. Where Philly's offense is pretty good, not great yet. Dolphins' defense is kind of there as well. So the matchups are there, equivalency. And
This is why it's the game of the week.
Sunday night as well, right? 5:20.
Why it's the game of the week? Yeah, that's the Sunday night.
This could be one of those. I think it was Rams Chiefs, like that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That was like Monday night game. That was like 45-42 is the game, the best game in like the last 5 years. This has that.
It was like 50. Yeah, it was 50 something. Both teams were in the 50s.
Yeah, it was a wicked game.
I remember that.
I think this has the potential to be just like that game. Sunday night stage, everybody's watching. This will probably, I think we had 18 million viewers or something like that, which is the highest this year when it was Taylor Swift watching Kelsey play. I think this game will top that, especially if it's close at half. If it's like 21-21, 21-24 at half, high scoring like first half, I think this game's unbelievably good. There are 3 other games of note here that I think have a lot that will speak a lot about the rest of the season. Chiefs Chargers in Kansas City. I mean, the Chargers need to show up to one of these games in terms of like a full 4 quarters.
No.
Because they don't seem to manage the clock. They don't seem to. Herbert looked terrible last night. We're recording this on Tuesday, so I keep saying last night. He missed Keenan Allen open wide for touchdowns. He was not playing great. They need a bounce back game, and this Chargers Chiefs game could be pretty exciting as well. And then Ravens Lions. That's a great game in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's shocking that right now the Raiders have taken over second place in that division over the Chargers.
Yeah, that's That's not great. Who do the Raiders play this week? I think
Go Bears.
Oh, the lowly
Now,
Bears.
here's another one. Justin Fields. He's got a little bit of an injury, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Can't
the
grip
name
the
of the
ball.
guy that came in. It might be a fortunate thing for him. Not a conspiracy, but like him playing very poorly at the beginning of this year, then having 2 really good games, and then getting hurt. So that he doesn't have to play the next 4 games. Everyone can forget about how bad he was because they're only going to remember his last game being very good. Then he can kind of have a fresh start to the season. It might actually end up being a very good thing for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I think.
Now, could I tell you another game I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, but a certain outcome? I would love to see the Buffalo Bills crush the New England Patriots.
Like they're going to. That's one of my picks of the week.
New England gets 3 points or something.
Okay. So you want to see just kind of like the last 3 games the Patriots have played in. They're terrible. Yeah. Mac Jones wasn't like the offense wasn't terrible last game. Kendrick Bourne had a good game, but Mac Jones is still feeling the heat. They'll need to start thinking about quarterbacks to draft next year. But that the Bills are one of my picks of the week. 8.5 spread for Buffalo in New England. I think the Bills cover that. That should. I don't even know if I'll tune into this game at all. It'll be over very quickly, I think.
I hope so. This is my wanting to see New England crumble and just get crushed every week for all those years of them being great.
Yeah. I need like 3 seasons of them to be horrible in order to make up for all those great years. Can't just be 2 bad seasons. Now. All right. Okay. What's one of your locks?
I'm going to take my Raiders over the Bears.
Good pick.
Good pick. But the Raiders don't look good, man. The Raiders do not look good.
No, they don't. Garoppolo got hurt too, didn't he?
Yeah, he's always hurt. He's in and out.
The Raiders got the Bears this week, and then they got the Lions Monday night, week after that.
Oh,
you versus me, mano y mano.
No, I'm bigger on the Lions bandwagon right now because actually,
I'm not going to let that happen though. Next week when we talk about it, you're a full Raiders fan.
I'm going to come over and watch the game with you then, as a Raiders fan.
Sit outside like a Raiders. You can wear your Raiders jersey and sit outside, watch through the window.
Sure.
Piss in the bushes, eat the nuts on the ground.
Are you going to top up my drink though?
I'll top up your drink. I'm not a horrible person. Not a monster. Okay, so you got the Raiders. They're 3-point favorites in Chicago, probably without Justin Fields. You look like you got something to say.
Well, I was going to just jump on another.
Go for it. What do you got?
I hate these guys. There's another team I hate, but I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers coming off a bye to further the woes of the Denver Broncos.
It's kind of odd that they're playing in Denver, but the Packers are only 1.5-point favorites.
Yeah, that's Packers have been slipping lately. Like Jordan
Love
but
coming off a bye
came out hot, and then he didn't look as good the past couple games. But coming off a bye, I think the guys are going to be rested. They're kind of fixing some issues, and Denver is a beatable team. Any team in the league can beat Denver.
Denver is a laughingstock of a team. Laughingstock. I think we have here's one of my picks. I think we got a great Thursday night game. New Orleans Saints, Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are on the up. They're playing very good football. Saints kind of have to save their season Thursday night. They're 3-3 right now. They're favorites in New Orleans. 1.5-point favorites. I think Jacksonville wins this game.
Dude, they came off a hot European vacation and they've done great since.
Yep. Came back home to Duval and they've cleaned the house.
Oh, yeah. They're looking good. The running game is looking good. The passing game is looking good.
Yeah, there is a little bit of concern behind Trevor Lawrence's knee, but I'm sure he'll sort that out this week on a short rest, keep it warm the entire 4 days, go out there and beat the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. It's not that much of a travel, I don't think, to go from Jacksonville to New Orleans. So that's good. You got one more pick left. You take him.
What do I want to do here? I'm going to jump on Pittsburgh to beat the Rams, even though I think the Rams are the better team. I think it's going to be an upset.
Wow. Okay. So
I never take the upset. I felt obligated to take the upsets. I looked through our games of our picks of the weeks. I never take the upsets.
So this was going to be my other game, but I'm taking the Rams.
Okay.
So you got Steelers, I got Rams. I'll even give you the 3 points. LA at home. Pittsburgh's coming off a bye week. Is that right? Who did they play this? Did they play this last week?
They had a bye.
They had a bye. That makes it a little more intriguing, doesn't it? Do you think they figured out that offense?
No, they didn't. And they also
So they didn't figure it out, and you're still taking them.
came out with a statement that's saying they're not going to fire Matt Canada. They're not going to change the play calling.
That's such a mistake.
Oh, it's stupid.
Like, how do you just keep your fan base just has to hate your guts for that? Has to.
Yeah, you've got your fan base with the balls. They're not gonna tune out. They're not gonna not come to the games. You're still gonna sell out. You're still gonna do fine.
Yeah.
You could lose. They've got good fans in Pittsburgh.
It
doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
They're still gonna come.
Super loyal fans in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So that's actually a luxury. Whereas like you can kind of just focus on like what you think is best for the football team, even though most people don't think this is best for the football team.
Those fans
without having to worry about fans.
Those fans are as loyal to that football team as the football team is loyal to their coaches.
Yeah,
which is why it's so weird that they're begging for their coaches to get fired. But everyone heard this here. It is my pick, Rams. Poya is taking the Steelers for the champion of the show. Thank you all for listening. We will be back next week on Running Down the Clock.
Hey, if you're a fan of Formula One, then I've got the perfect podcast for you. The Pit Stop Podcast, presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. After every single race of the Formula One schedule, Jordan and Tyler will break it down, give you some news, analysis, insight, before answering your questions and setting you up for the next race. That's the Pit Stop Podcast, available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Running Down the Clock is brought to you by the Ordinary Podcast Network and is every Thursday running until the week after the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoyed enough to subscribe and tune in again next week.